When I begin to approach filmmaking, I ask myself one question: why? Why was I creating this film? What does the subject of domestic abuse mean to me? Fortunately for me, I've never been through these circumstances. My fortune cannot be shared with the thousands of other men who've had to endure violence and abuse at the hands of their partners, and one in particular, a close friend of mine. From listening to his story and hearing the tale of his abuse behind closed doors is where the idea for the film stemmed from. Though the narrative between my film and my friend's life were not similar, I couldn't help but focus on his struggle and the pain going through his ordeal. He inspired me to shift my focus of the film towards the male character, Dan, and how he's reacting to events in his life. I originally wrote the film to be a realistic depiction of domestic abuse, with the camera, shots, lighting, and direction focusing on handheld to make the audience believe we were in the action, which was inspired by the film Captain Phillips, where the fast-paced action and long single takes created drama on scene and fear for the audience. I was pointed in the direction of a graduate student's film who had tackled the subject matter in the previous year. Her depiction too was realistic and happened all in real time. She had managed to capture a brief insight into an abusive relationship, something I wanted to do with my film, but I felt the execution lacked depth. To me, the film felt flat.
I clean. I do everything for you. I'm perfect for you.
I'm really sorry.
And you just swan on in every day like you own the place.
Maria, calm down.
You have one thing to remember. I don't understand why you can't just do as you're told. Do you know how much I do for you? And you do nothing. Absolutely nothing. You'd have nothing and you'd be nothing.
So with this in mind, I decided to follow a different approach to how I wanted my film to look, and I took a direction that looked into a more surreal approach, where the character is influenced by his emotions to see and hear things that actually aren't there. And although my friend suffered at the physical hand of his partner, my research through emailing charities and searching online domestic abuse forums pointed me towards male victims of domestic abuse suffering mentally through emotional and verbal torment, and often financial abuse, and this was to be the focus of my film. This was my first challenge. How would I create a short film that depicts the subtleties of domestic abuse without using any real or physical violence, without downplaying it to the point where the abuse cannot be seen by the audience?
Interrupt me whilst I'm talking to mine. You know what? Don't even bother coming to bed tonight. You can just stay down here.
The challenge being how to portray Dan as a victim to the extent where we feel sorry for him and to begin to understand what he's going through and why can't he just leave the relationship. To do this, I looked into themes of emotional and financial abuse. The idea for the wallet scene came from this notion that the man was being controlled financially by his partner. He can no longer go out and enjoy himself with his friends as she controls his income, thus stripping his freedom away from him, leaving him to be trapped in the house.
Don't I usually get 10?
I bought myself something nice, since you don't treat me anymore.
Then there is this emotional abuse, this constant barrage of bullying and hurtful words, where Dan is afraid of Abby and what she might do to him if he stays. We can hear his fear at the end in the tone of his voice when he calls for help.
I feel trapped. I don't know. I'm scared. I think I'm going to get some help.
One challenge in particular stemmed from the nature of the cast and the busy schedules that comes with using real actors. To foresee any issues that may arise from, say, overlap with actors' other work, I sat down with my producer and laid out a detailed shoot schedule for both day and night shoots. This was my first time using professional paid actors in any production I've undertaken. The challenge for me initially was understanding that both Mickey and Sophie had lives outside of my film and that their schedule could not revolve around mine. I soon learned this the hard way, having had one actor leave the set mid-shoot in order to catch their train home. Despite this hiccup, production carried on and the first half of the film played out smoothly. I then had to take a break from proceedings to undertake a placement opportunity for the course of the Easter break. This left a 3-week gap in between filming. Time was not spent wasted as I kept in touch with Mickey, and Sam, my producer, relayed messages to Sophie. All was well until we returned to the location, and without warning, Holly's mother had replaced the couch used in the first scene of the film. This, however, did not provide as big a challenge as I had feared, as we had shot the majority of the scene before Easter breaks, and the remainder of the scene was reaction shots from Mickey, so no new couch was needed. One of the more greatest challenges I faced while shooting is that when we returned from the Easter break, one of my actors couldn't film during the day, Monday to Friday, due to other commitments, and we couldn't film during the evening as Holly's parents were home and didn't want to be disturbed. This meant we were restricted to weekend shoots, Saturday day in particular, as my other actor had to work the evenings. This proved to be the greatest challenge, as we only had to shoot the final scene, which is a nighttime scene, during the day. And with the weather outside being as glorious as it was, the only problem being how to make the shot look like nighttime, with the sun blowing through each window. A small investment was made in order to stock on duct tape, which we then used to tape bed sheets, towels, and other opaque materials to the windows to create the illusion of darkness. This sheer feat of engineering played off, as it then allowed me to control my lighting rig to make the scene look and feel like it was shot at night time.
Hello? No, he isn't in. Can I ask who's calling? Oh, don't call here again. Goodbye.
Lighting was a key element in my script, as each shot is meticulously planned out using a variety of lighting sources, from the LED lighting rig borrowed from Aurora House and the orange gels to give the shots a warm nighttime glow, to natural light during the day, and street lighting with the addition of my camera phone for the fast-paced final scene when Mickey flees from the house. Using a basic 3-point lighting rig slowed down filming, as each shot had to be lit differently in order to make the scene look right. The film works at highlighting the issue that there are cases where males fall victims to their partners.
Look at me when I'm talking to
The
you.
film is supposed to give a brief insight into an abusive relationship
What have you been
where we
saying?
see the real struggle men face when in similar situations.
Well, what is it to be worried about, Dan? Why would Joe say he was worried about you? Dan, answer me. What have you been saying to Joe? Dan!
The film itself could work equally as well without the bird scene. Despite this, I wanted to include it to solidify that Dan, like other men, feel trapped in their relationships. And even though people often say, why can't they just leave? In cases of domestic abuse, it's often more complicated than just leaving. There are other mitigating circumstances keeping men from simply getting up and seeking help.
Think you're going?
I did want the film to end with some sort of resolution where Dan does decide to get help, allowing other men to see that they can go and get help and there are channels they can go down in order to seek the help that they need. I have now shared the film with the charity Mankind, and it now plays on their YouTube page, allowing a wider audience of male victims to view it and see that they do have a voice and that they can go and get help.